Okay, check it out, dude. It moves, man. It moves. So, my name is Evan Strong. Usually, I make videos on the lacing and tying of the shoes that we wear and the things within our clothing because I'm actually a clothing designer. And I actually talk about the human body and its relationship with clothing. I have a few prerequisites that I'll state here, even though this isn't really about clothing, but lacing your shoes with my technique found where you're finding these videos, tying them evenly over toward the inside, and then removing the tags from there up through all your clothing. I show how to let the body just do what it does. And the way we do that is just through the clothing that we wear. So, yes, I am a clothing designer, but I am also a disciple of Jesus Christ. And I always say that we are universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Christ Jesus. Jesus the Christ. Now, Christ is a title. It's like saying Messiah or Master, or many other things. But, you know, I'm not only going to be making clothing, as far as that's not all my life's going to consist of. Yeah, I'm going to make a lot of clothing content, right? A lot of human body content. But in and through that, and in and through everything that we ever do, our God is the only thing that makes that possible, you know? So, I don't even really have a layout for this video necessarily, but it's the 22nd, it's actually the first day of fall, 22nd of September 2024. And here I have my quad scriptures. It shows you right there what is in this book. It's available to anybody. Get online, get on the Gospel Library app, the Church of Jesus Christ.org, or whatever the actual website name actually like is, word for word, something like that. You'll find it. You'll find it. But I was, you know, it's nice because there's actually a Book of Mormon app, and there's also the Gospel Library app that has the Book of Mormon in it. But it's nice to be able to listen to the scriptures, right? Not only just have the physical book and be able to read it, but there are times and places where it's actually very beneficial to just be able to listen, you know, and that's what I do in the mornings, is I'll open up the Book of Mormon app and I will just listen to scriptures. So, yeah, I was doing that, as I do each morning, and I think it was in 2 Nephi chapter 33, but I don't know which verse it was, but something stood out to me. In the way of like actually feeling like it'd be great to make a video about it. So let me try to find what verse it is. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna read maybe more, but I'm gonna focus right here on 2 Nephi chapter 33, verse 5 and verse 6. Okay. Now, 2 Nephi is the second book in the Book of Mormon, right? Just like the Holy Bible, the Book of Mormon is historical records of true events of our living God himself, Jesus Christ, and his words. And the Bible and the Book of Mormon, they work in conjunction with each other. They're actually around the same time period. Within the Book of Mormon, there's records between about like 600-ish BC, meaning before Christ, which is how the entire earth calls dates. I started at the beginning saying it's 2024, the year, because it's been 2024 years since our God himself was born into this world, onto this earth. That's why we have our calendars the way that we do. That really is. Some people don't know that. But yeah, so the Book of Mormon has somewhere around 600-ish BC to like, well, a little while after Christ came, because after Christ got crucified, which was 33 AD, which I don't know what AD stands for. People think it stands for after death, but it doesn't, because it's the same year, right? BC and AD both start at 0 when he was born. AD, it's like a Greek word, I think, Hebrew word. It's some kind of, I mean, yeah, I don't even know for sure, but it's I've heard it before, and I used to know what it was. But anyway, the records within the Book of Mormon go to, within just a little while after his death, because within the Book of Mormon, it has historical records of people here in the Americas. And, I don't know exactly for sure where. I don't know if people really nowadays know exactly for sure where here on the American continent, North America, South America. I live here in the United States of America. Somewhere over here, though, and a lot of the other events, like within the Bible, took place over across the pond, if you will. Across over, Jerusalem, over there, okay? Yeah. So, the point is, same time period, and as a lot of the things that we read within, like, the New Testament, but it's over here on this, like, kind of other side, if you will, of the earth. So, yes. The Book of Mormon talks about people called the Nephites and the Lamanites. Over there across the globe, you've got people like the Israelites, the Jaredites, oh wait, actually, Jaredites might have been here on this continent. I'm not trying to get all like historical like record. I'm giving a little bit of doctrine out of like teaching, as far as like spiritual teachings, more than like, you know what I mean? But yeah, point being, I'm gonna read the verse. 2 Nephi 33 verse 5. And it speaketh harshly against sin, according to the plainness of the truth. Wherefore no man will be angry at the words which I have written, save he shall be of the spirit of the devil. Okay? And then verse 6 says, I glory in plainness, I glory in truth, I glory in my Jesus, for he hath redeemed my soul from hell. Okay? Now, that's the first time I've actually like visually read it, like today. I've read the whole Book of Mormon. Well, I listened to most of it, but I've been through the whole thing. It's beautiful. But it's a true book. Okay? It is. So, the reason that stuck out to me this morning is because I speak on a lot of things a lot of the time, and I talk about how I don't really care too much to give my opinion. Occasionally I'll throw in something like I like about something, like within clothing, for example, but I'm not here to try to like push opinion, because that doesn't do any good. We all can have our opinions, but they don't really mean anything to each other, unless we're just trying to like, be there for each other, to hear each other out. Opinions are opinions. And so I always talk about within clothing, within the human body, that I try to only speak on universal truth, right? The universal human design is what I say. I just want to talk about universal truth, because when, as I'm designing clothing, it's ideally going to apply for everybody, at least like where the seams sit, right? And different sizes will be different sizes, but the seam placement will be the same, right? To do what it does, because we are universally designed. So a thing I always say, or I've said quite a lot within my videos like this, is if you're getting all offended about what you think that I'm hearing, well, that's on you. because I'm saying what I'm saying. And what you're hearing, if you're getting offended about it, it's probably not actually what I'm saying, because I'm not saying things that's going to offend anybody. I'm giving truth and free information on the universal human design, okay? Structural system, the skeletal system. So these stuck out to me. I was just kind of eating some food, and the scriptures were playing through my phone speaker. It was sitting over here and at that, where I live. But in verse 5 it says, according to the plainness of the truth. And that's how a lot of the stuff I talk about is it's so plain and obvious once you see it. But that's the thing with so much in life. There is universal truth, and there is only one truth, which is Christ. And I've gone into this quite a bit, how we live in a place where people think they can decide what's true, and that just doesn't work. Because if you can decide what's true, and so can he over here, and those two things that you think can both be true are exact opposites, then there's, it doesn't work. We can't decide. None of us, no human can decide what's true. There's just truth. So right after that, in the same verse, it says, no man will be angry at the words which I have written, save he shall be of the spirit of the devil. So really what that's saying is, within what Nephi is writing here, Nephi was a prophet, again, over here on this continent somewhere, the American continent, right? This is actually date marks these. This is 544 BC, about, right? I mean, just about, actually, unless that's the next chapter, but it's probably still the same time period if it is. No, that's this chapter. Wow, between 559 and 545 BC, somewhere around there, okay? This is Nephi, a prophet, writing things that are offending a lot of people because people don't understand them. But the things he's writing are true. So it doesn't matter if the people are getting offended. That doesn't change the fact that the words he's writing, being given through revelation and having our living God speak to him, his words are true. No matter who's getting offended or who thinks they shouldn't be or who has an opinion on what is right. It's not that Nephi's right, it's that Nephi's speaking truth. So he says the only people that's going to be angry at what he's saying is if they shall be of the spirit of the devil. Okay? That sounds harsh. But, yeah, it makes sense. Because if you're filled with this evilness within you, just meaning you've strayed from the truth, which I've done, right? Thinking, like I was saying earlier, that you can kind of decide what's true. Well, you can't. I can't. So, when we're defiant against truth, we're actually almost in that way serving the devil. That's a little bit bold to say, huh? But, because in those cases, if something is true, truth is undisputed. Truth does not change. And if we're trying to say that that thing that is true isn't, then we're essentially acting out of the spirit of the devil. That's crazy, huh? So, the next verse, verse 6, it says, I glory in plainness. I glory in truth. I glory in my Jesus, for he hath redeemed my soul from hell. Because really what we're doing, when we're rejecting the truth, which we do from time to time, we're all sinful humans, but what we're really doing at that point is damning ourselves, right? The word damning, it's not a swear. Damning means like, well, you can seriously think of it as like a beaver dam within a river, right? If there's a nice good flow of the water going down the river and you dam the river, putting something in the way to block the water, now you're blocking its movement and its flow and its progression down the river. That's really the same thing as when the word damned gets used in scripture. it's like stopping or blocking, because as long as we're following our living God, Christ himself, to the best that we can, and we sin and we slip up and we stumble and we go back a few steps, but then we like just keep trying and go back a few steps and keep trying. All we got to do is repent and keep trying. And if we stop doing that, if we stop trying to follow him, if we start to think that we can do things on our own, we're damning ourselves. In other words, that progression just can't continue, because it's only through him that we can do anything. So we realize that once we try to do things ourselves and then we get to a dead end, we can only do so much ourselves until we realize we can't really do anything ourselves. That's funny. But I love it because it says, I glory in plainness. And that's a lot of what I talk about here, within the human body. It's, I say how I got a little bit of a thing with specialists, right? And because you don't normally need surgeries, you don't normally need medications, you don't normally need all these exercises and routines that doctors will give you, because when they do give them to you, you know that they don't actually normally fix the problem. And so I, personally, me, Evan Strong, I glory in plainness. And I do. Because I say and I show, and I don't really want to use the word prove, but prove, just meaning there's no dispute, within my own body, that it really is just about the clothing. I show, the way that my body operates now just because of what I've done within the clothing. And I talk about how it's universal for every human within our own, differences, talk about surgeries, deformities, whatever. But it's plain, it's easy. I don't have routines to give you, or stretches or exercises. It's plain. Take the tags out of your clothing, have them fit, have the seams sit where I show, those kind of things. And it's so plain, so simple, so easy, right? Right after that it says, I glory in truth. That's how I am. I say things that are so bold and so almost accusatious. And I've explained this before. I'm not being accusatious. I'm coming from a place of understanding, coming from a place of having been in such, physical misalignment for so long, like 20 years. And to a degree, 20 years, and certain times in there it got worse. Toward the end it got even worse, until I started to realize what was going on. But I glory in truth. I don't want to mislead anybody, because I know how it is to have a lot of pain within the body. But I also know how easy it is to fix it in almost every single case. Okay? So, or at least relieve it, right? I don't use the word fix as if what I'm telling you is just going to fix you, but there is only one way the body works. And that's, again, I glory in truth. I say that. I say the body only works the way the body works. I say that I can't tell it what to do, he can't tell it what to do, and she can't tell it what to do. And we can't. That's true. And I go into all this within, I've talked about all this a lot. It's undisputed. I glory in truth. Universal truth. Right? So, and then it says, I glory in my Jesus, for he hath redeemed my soul from hell. Well, I definitely glory in my God, Jesus Christ. I know that I can't do anything without him. I couldn't have even been here to have the opportunity to do anything without him, because he created me and this earth and everything that I have the possibility to do, he created. And so, yeah, I glory in him each and every day. Even when I actually intentionally, at times, do things against him, because I get caught up in the world, or because I think that I'm so high and mighty now and then, or maybe more than just now and then, right? I mean, sinful by nature, as we all are. So, yeah. The point with reading those two verses, those are just two verses that I unpacked. When you're speaking on truth, it's true. But there's also a lot of verses within here that talk about, in here meaning just the truth of all things, that talk about how people don't like the truth. The wicked don't like the truth. Now, we're all wicked, being human beings, right? We're all sinful. But those of us, meaning me at times in my past, who don't really... This guy's doing a wheelie down the street on his dirt bike. When people don't really care about truth and they'd rather just think that they can decide what's true, well, they get a little bit upset when you're speaking truth and trying to tell them that it's truth that doesn't change, because it doesn't. Because if they, or again, I at the time, in certain times of my life, if we as people think that we can decide what's true, then if somebody's trying to tell us what's true, then we're gonna get a little bit defensive and reactive, when no matter how defensive or reactive we get, it doesn't change what truth is, right? So, anyway, yeah, very simple, very easy to understand when it's being unpacked like that. Meaning there's two verses there. There's probably just, less than 50 words maybe in total, right around there. And you can unpack that much in two little verses. And then you've got all the books, right? All the books within the Bible, all the books within the Book of Mormon, any kind of historical records of truth. And it's beautiful to read the scriptures, because that's what it'll do, is open your eyes and bring you a remembrance of truth. The scriptures talk about how the Holy Ghost, which is the Spirit of our living God himself, will bring all things to our remembrance. Because I've mentioned, and just because it's true, we are children of our living God, and we came from him, right? We came from heaven, we'll return to heaven. There's a verse within here, just talks on it many times, but how human beings are, pulled from the earth and then they'll return to it. Our physical fleshly body is just earth. That's what I talk about within clothing, how I say we need to be wearing, if we can, 100% natural materials, because the human being is just an accumulation of what we've eaten out of the earth. And so we are earth. And then once we die, we'll just decompose back into the earth, right? So, I love the gospel a lot. I mean, more than anything. And the gospel, the word gospel, literally translated into English, means good news. That's all the gospel is it's the good news of the truth of all things. So, when we say the gospel of Jesus Christ, we're saying the good news of Jesus Christ, the good news of our Creator, and we have access to him. I've talked about this, how you don't have to be on your knees to pray. There's times where, yes, that's very beneficial, because that's showing to him that you will humble yourself enough to get from your standing position to closer to the earth, as if you're bowing at his feet. He created you. He can wipe you out in a second. He won't. I mean, well, I'm not going to tell you what he will or won't do, but what I mean is he's perfectly loving, ever merciful, but he's also absolutely all-powerful. He created everything, so he can do whatever he wants with anything. He orchestrates all this stuff and makes it all happen, makes the wind blow, and you can hear the leaves rustling over there on the ground, probably. He makes everything happen. He keeps it all happening. I talk about how the human body just does so much without us doing it. And that's how I can say we can't tell our bodies what to do. Your body's gonna breathe without you telling it to. And if you try to hold your breath, you're just gonna pass out, and then your body's gonna start breathing on its own again. Your body's doing these things, but really it's our God orchestrating all of these things for us to just have this earthly experience. So, yes, that was 2 Nephi chapter 33, verses 5 and 6. Just two small little verses. But I wanted to focus on them for today because I can speak on truth And this truth that I speak on, even within the clothing and the human body and its universal design, when I say it's truth, it's because it's over here. As if this book is truth. And it's over there, I'm just talking about the book. I'm not speaking out of my own being. I'm talking about the truth, and I'm over here like just relaying the information, right? As if I had a skeletal system, like a skeleton of the human body right here, like you'd have in your anatomy class, and I'm like, this is truth, not because I'm saying it, but it's here, you know. Truth is apart from us. We don't get to decide what it is, but we can get to know what it is. We can have access to it, and we can have an understanding of it. And that understanding can get very, 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 very deep and personal and intimate. Because the truth, when it boils down to it, is Jesus Christ himself. He is the way, the truth, and the life. So, truth is truth. And I've talked about how I'm not going to always be, or ever be, perfect in my delivery of explaining these things when I'm talking about clothing or the human body, or even when I'm sharing the gospel or whatever it is, but it's because I'm imperfect. Not because what I'm talking about is. What I'm talking about doesn't change. Whether it is the way the body works within every human, within our own very slight differences, right? We're universal. Or the way that clothing affects it, right? It's over here. All these things are over here. The scriptures, which are just historical records and the living word of our God, this stuff's over here. I'm just talking about it. But I'm over here, me, the sinful, imperfect human, as we all are. And so when I'm discussing things, I'm talking about truth, but maybe the person who's talking about it, being me, imperfect, doesn't quite relay it exactly as it is. But what I'm talking about is still true. So that distinction, I think, is very important to see. Otherwise, people start to get pretty upset. So, anyway, yeah, I've talked about it a lot. It will be coming. This clothing I'm talking about that I'm going to design, I'm going to have a clothing company, and I say that it's going to be big, and I don't talk that way because I don't need the recognition, and I don't normally do much that I care to be like big. But this is gonna be a big deal, this clothing company. So I've talked about it a lot. It's going to be minimal to the point that we don't have any kind of logo or branding on the exterior at all. Like that minimal, just nice 100% natural materials that we can put on. It's gonna sit where it needs to. Seams on top behind the shoulders, seams at the edges of the shoulders, pants up off of the hips, slightly higher in the front than in the rear. Because I've got 73 videos before this one today, where this is placed, on the human body, its relationship with clothing, its natural workings, and I understand it all very, 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 very well. Okay, so that's the point of me designing clothing, and yeah, I just always talk about that at the end of my videos because it's going to be coming, and it's going to be helpful for everybody because I know how it is to try to be finding clothing that just is comfortable as far as lets your body do its thing, right? And I've now learned what it takes for that to be possible. And yeah, so I'm just gonna incorporate it into designs. Really, that's the entire approach for my whole entire design. But I also have, you know, a lot of free information within these videos that you can do with nothing but a pair of scissors on the clothing you already own to just allow it to work for your body, to stay centered and to let your body just do its natural thing the only way that it works, right? And I've gotten into all this such great depth. So, yeah. You know, I guess I'll close this out with testifying as me, myself, little old me, that I know Christ and I know him. And that's what's so beautiful is we get the opportunity to know him. He's not a distant being. He's here, now, and always, perfectly ever present. So, yeah, I know him, and I know that he gives us all, regardless of our backgrounds, because I've had a pretty rough one, or our current state, or what we do in the future to mess up, which we will all mess up time and time again. He gives us all the opportunity to know him and to have access to his perfect redeeming power. And, you know, that's crazy because who are we, right? So, anyway, yeah. Yeah. All right. Stick around for clothing. Check out the videos I already have if you'd like to. And, yeah. The gospel of Jesus Christ is true. Jesus Christ himself is here. Always listening, always watching, and always wanting the best for every one of us. So, he gives us the opportunity to have a knowing of that so deep and so rooted in our being that nothing could shake it. And that's unreal. So, all right. Thank you.